There's an area in India called Bharuch. And in Bharuch, there used to be a saint called Mekin Dada. Mekin Dada used to do very strange thing in the morning. From 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, he will send his donkey and his dog named Lalio and Motio throughout the village. There would be bags on the back of Lalio, who was the donkey, and the villagers will fill that bag with either grain or milk or curd, whatever surplus they had to give that day. The donkey and dog will come back to Mekin Dada. Mekin Dada will make bread. He will make chapatis out of what he had collected. He will also make some dishes out of the vegetables and other things that he's collected. He loaded onto the back of Lalio, and Motio will lead Lalio into the desert. They will walk for close to 30 kilometers, and then they will settle down in an area which would be a crossing where historically many people have died out of hunger or thirst. When people would be on the verge of collapsing, they would see these two animals over there, reach these animals, eat the food, drink whatever is there for them to satisfy their thirst, and with Lalio and Motio, come back to the village to safety. It seems in a few decades, thousands of people got their lives saved because of Mekin Dada, Lalio, and Motio. But I'll tell you what is the best part of the whole story. The people whose life was saved never came to know who are the people who have supplied the food and supplied the liquid things for them to drink and survive. When a program like this happens, there is always a Mekin Dada, a few Lalios and a few Motios in the background. Somewhere, somebody would have initiated a drive. Like in this case, we know our Mekin Dada is Dr. Shabir. And then he would have called out to all his friends across, and they in turn would have reached out to hundreds more. And before we realize, thousands of people have heard about the program. They like what is being presented. They will eat what is presented. And who knows, it might be the turning point in the way they parent their children tomorrow. Now, we won't know the names of all the Mekin Dadas over here, the Lalios and Motios. So on behalf of the entire organizing committee, let me say thank you so much to each one of you who has played a critical, a very important role in we being together today morning. Now, Dr. Shabir is also a psychologist, and he would have definitely heard and read enough about Sigmund Freud. And Freud would say, there are three impossible professions in the world. One, governing nations. Two, psychoanalysis. And three, parenting. Parenting can be very challenging at times, and it often finds us confused because there is so much conflicting advice. I have special love and admiration for people belonging to three different professions. One, the soldiers of a country, where selflessly they are willing to even offer the ultimate sacrifice, their life, for the sake of their nation. Two, I have extraordinary respect for teachers. I very deeply believe that they are the silent soldiers of any country. Teachers are the ladders walking on which everybody else becomes leaders in their life. And third is parents. If there is somebody who sacrifices their entire life for the sake of somebody else, it is parents for the sake of their children. In our childhood, we don't even realize and we don't even recognize the kind of efforts parents play in our life. But as we grow up and have our own children, we realize, oh, my parents also must have done something similar in my life. I was in class 10. I was the head boy of my school. I was studying in a city in India called Calcutta. And my school was going on an annual holiday to Jammu and Kashmir. My principal, Ms. Hila Mukherjee, came to me and said, Naren, you're the head boy of the school, so you should also ideally come. I went home and my parents were sitting there. A Bhalotia uncle, Papa's friend, was also there. And I just blurted out in front of them that I would like to go to Kashmir on a holiday. And my principal is insisting I should come. May I go? I didn't realize that our family is going through a huge financial tough times in those moments. Papa looked at Mama, Mama looked at Papa, Papa looked at Bhalotia uncle. He looked again at Mama, Mama gave a slight nod and Papa said, "Theek hai, ja." Okay, go. And then he asked me, in how many days we have to pay the money? He said, 7 days. He said, "Theek hai, go." Now I jumped out of the room as a bundle of energy. Wow, I'm going to go on a holiday with all my friends from school. It will be so much fun. Almost 20 years later, one of those mornings in some discussion around a holiday, Mama asked me, "Do you remember when you had gone to a holiday in Kashmir?" I said, "Of course I remember." And she said, "Do you know what is the sacrifice your father made at that time?" I said, "No idea." He said, "You know, your father has been saving money to buy a pair of shoes for himself because his shoes have got torn about 8 times. And then for the last 3 years, we have not purchased any new clothes for him. So another set of money was being saved for your father to buy 3 sets of clothes. But since you were so excited about going to Jammu and Kashmir on your holiday, your father sacrificed that. And it took us another 8 months before your father could buy the shoes he desperately needed and his clothes." For the first time in my life, I realized there must be so many histories of sacrifices which parents have made in bringing me up. You know, today when the world introduces me like my friend Zainab did, today when I go to a function as a chief guest and people speak good things about me, they know this face. But behind this face is a big history. And that history is a series of sacrifices made by parents. And I'm sure every one of you who are parents over here must have done so much for your children. In some case, it would have been financial sacrifice. In some cases, and I'm sure many mothers over here must have made a career sacrifice. In some cases, it would have been convenience sacrifice. In some cases, it could have been an academic sacrifice. In some cases, parents would have stood as a shield protecting the child against the anger of some other people. Parenting is not an easy task. It is a very, very demanding work. So I have deep gratitude and super deep respect for everybody who chooses to be a parent. So congratulations, my darling parents. I must thank you for the beautiful work that you are doing. And I'll ensure that in the next 35-40 minutes that we have together, we will understand a few aspects of life which will really delight you. But before we go there, I also believe that most parents haven't realized the power that parenting has. You have incredible power as a parent. The way we can nurture our children, we can make them the #1 citizens in the whole world. It is not just about educating our children to somehow earn a degree, get a qualification, earn enough to run a family and settle down. It's about creating people who can shape the destiny not only of their life, but millions of lives in turn. I'm going to tell a name to you right now, and chances are you may not recollect that name or you may not have heard of that name directly. But when I tell about what this lady has done then chances are you will understand the name and you'll know, oh, this is that person. Kya? Have you heard of this lady called Ursula Burns? Just think for 10-15 seconds. Have you ever heard about this lady called Ursula Burns? B-U-R-N-S Burns? Ursula Burns? U-R-S-U-L-A, Ursula? From your faces, I understand it doesn't ring a bell. Now I'll tell you which is the company she was heading. And you might say, oh, have you heard of a company called Xerox? Now, she was the chairwoman of Xerox. I see Zainab making that, oh, now I understand kind of thing. It's extraordinary to know the story of Ursula Burns. Ursula was born to a mother whose name was Olga. Ursula was born to parents of Panamanian origin. Her father left the family early, and Olga was left with Ursula and a couple of more siblings to be taken care of. They grew up in Lower East Side, New York, which was one of the toughest areas in New York in the 1970s. They used to stay in a subsidized housing society, which was famous for crime and other notorious activities. That place was often associated with gang violence. So the moment somebody would say Lower East Side, New York, oh my God, that place where all gangsters stay. And Ursula grew up in that area. It was extremely challenging, but very formative. Let me share with you an incident which happened in Ursula's life when Ursula was 9 years old, and how it completely changed her life, and what is extraordinary parenting all about. Obviously, very poor family. One day, a 9-year-old Ursula comes home and throws her school bag in one corner and says, I am sick and tired of being poor. She looks at her mother, who was making dinner, and accusingly tells Olga, the mother, why the hell did you give me birth? If you are poor and if you can't earn money, why did you produce children who have to go through so much pain? I hate you. Olga Burns, the mother, kept on cutting, kept on simply cutting the vegetables. And she looked at Ursula and says, tell me more. And darling parents, remember this phrase, tell me more. It's a magical phrase. And I'll come back to you in a little while. And Ursula Burns says, you have never given us new clothes. I don't have a new box of crayons. All the crayons I have are broken pieces. Children in the class make fun of me. And they often push me down and laugh at me. And there is nobody to protect me because I am poor. It is so painful to go to school. When I wear clothes which are one size bigger than mine, because that is the only thing you can afford, you know how difficult is it in school? And she looked at her mother with hate and anger. Mother Olga continues to cut the vegetables and says, tell me more. And she says, I am having so much pain. I don't know how to handle this pain. And Mother Olga says, that is a good thing to understand. Tomorrow evening, you, me, and the siblings, let's have a discussion. Every Friday evening in the Burns household, there will be a family meeting where anybody can say anything. Tomorrow evening, Friday evening, Olga asks, okay, tell me, darling, do you feel pain of being poor? Yes, replied Ursula. So what do you wish? I wish to be rich. Ah, so if you are rich, you think you will not have pain? Ursula does not know what to say. And she says, but I won't have pain because I don't have crayon box. I won't have pain because somebody is teasing me because of my clothes. These are good pains to avoid. How much money do you think you need to have for you to call yourself rich? The biggest number Ursula, 9-year-old Ursula knew was million. So she says, I want $1 million. Olga says, beautiful. If you have $1 million, will you feel very proud of yourself? Ursula said, yes, I will be very proud of myself. Then Olga says, very good. Earn $1 million. Now, from today onwards, when we sit to study, let's study thinking how to study so that one day I can earn $1 million. Olga did not even reply to the insults and the hurt. She only connected with the hurt that the child is going through. And the conversation did not end there. Now Ursula is calm and she says, should I focus on studies? And Olga replies, the biggest power that poor people have is education. If you are educated, you will lift yourself. And then Olga said something which to me was the ultimate greatness of her parenting. Olga looks at Ursula and says, but you know, my child, I won't be proud of you if you can earn $1 million. I will feel good about you, but I won't be proud of you. Ursula asks, so what will make you proud of me? Olga says, you felt that pain in your heart now because you are poor? Yes. The day you lift 1 million people out from poverty, I will be proud of you. There are hundreds of people who were poor but went on to become rich. Everybody then goes through an individual struggle to make a little more money. How about you deciding, I am going to become that kind of a person who will lift 1 million people out from poverty? If you can do that, I will be so proud of you. The 9-year-old child got her mission, got her focus, got her vision, got her purpose, got drive, got hunger. And she goes on to become the chairperson of Xerox. By the way, to explain the greatness of what she has achieved, she is the first Black woman to head a Fortune 500 company in the world. She is on the board of companies like Nestle and Uber. And you know, I will just share with you 3 extraordinary statements which I have taken from the life of Ursula. Ursula says, I am not a victim. I have to own my place in the world and I am going to push for it. 9-year-old child, stop thinking like a victim. My poverty is God's opportunity given to me so that I can lift 1 million people. 2, she said, my mother would say, where you are does not decide where you will be. Where you are does not decide where you will be. And 3rd, she would say, my mother will again and again say, participate and solve the problems in the world. When she was growing in Xerox, Those days, Xeroxes used to have these big photocopying machines, which only big corporates would buy. Olga's words would ring in her ears. You have to lift 1 million people out from poverty. As she was growing up, one day she went to the engineering department and said, can we not create a machine which can be sold to people who don't have enough money and yet they can become businessmen? Everybody needs photocopying, and today only corporates can afford it. Instead of a machine which is sold at, let's say, about 100,000, how about creating a machine which is sold at, let's say, $500? Or what about a $1,000 machine? Of course, she was called mad. She went to the chairman of the company and she said, there must be a way by which we can do it. If a small camera can take an image, why can't a machine take an image and get a printout? There must be a way. My darling friends, you must have seen these Xerox photocopying shops where a poor person with not too much education required, just one electricity connection, plugs it in, a small machine which might be about maximum of $100,000, maximum of $1,000. And there a businessman is ready with just 2 hours of training. You know, Xerox sold about 7 million of those machines when Ursula was there. Can you imagine how many people came out of poverty because of that? That is the power of parenting. Now imagine that evening, Olga Burns was not the great parent Olga Burns was. Now imagine a child comes and telling the mother, I hate you. Imagine a child coming to the mother and shouting at the mother and saying, why did you give me birth if you were poor? Chances are many mothers and fathers over here would have gone into depression. Maybe would have ended up crying, my child is saying like this about me. Hey God. But Olga continues to coolly cut the vegetables because she knows this child is not saying anything against me. She does not know how to handle the pain that she has in her heart. And with the mother, there is a safe zone where I can say things, but yet I'm going to be taken care of. Imagine the depth of the mother for her to understand what the child is doing and why the child is doing what she is doing. Parenting is so much about understanding the child and bonding with the child. How do we do great parenting? What did Ursula do? So here is the beginning of the 7 tips that I had promised to you of parenting in these tough and challenging times. First, the center of power cannot be the parents. Power must be shared. Children rebel. Children do not listen because they struggle for that power. Somebody else wants to have the power. I am telling you what to do. And the child is saying, but you don't understand me. And the mother is saying, I know the word. Who gave you birth? I gave you birth or you gave me birth? So who knows more? I know more or you know more? And the child does not understand this logic. Says, yeah, you gave me birth, but I operate the phone much better than you do. Because you are my mother does not mean you are good at everything and I am not good at anything at all. And often when there is a power struggle, we cease to listen. Now, how do we share power? You know, it's something as simple as we have to make them feel that they are in charge. Factor number 1 of power sharing, the same rule applies to all. If I tell my children, on the dining table, eat, keep your phone to one side. And at that time, if Shabbir calls me and says, Naren bhai, we need to talk about the parenting program. And I immediately take the phone. Yes, darling, what is it that you have to say? How are things going? And the child is looking at me and saying, different sets of rules. When his call comes, it's important. When our call comes, okay, my friend's conversation is also important. It's very, very important. When different sets of rules are there, sorry, you have lost the power game. So same set of rule inside the house. If I expect my children to sleep on time, and if I am up seeing some good for nothing TV serial late in the night, and I'm saying because I'm so tired, I want something, yeah, I want to do something by which I can just forget everything in the world. And the child is saying sleep is a good option. Na? When you are tired and you want to forget everything, how about sleeping? No, I want to waste more time by seeing TV. How does it sound? So children say, can we have the same rules, please? So point number one, today in homes. See, children today are different from the time we were children. The way you and me were parented cannot be the way our children will be parented. In our times, childhood had zero pressure. Kya pressure tha? What was the pressure? No pressure. You are going to school, that's more than enough. Mother's concern was only one. My child is not eating enough. That was the only complaint my mother had. Today, how much we expect the children to score? And they must be good in how many things? And how many classes? How many co-curricular activities? And I'm sure even their Sundays is packed. Our childhood, none of these things were there. So the way we have been parented cannot be the way our children will be parented. This generation needs new parenting style. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but this is the reality. So point number one, share your power. How do you share your power? Point number two, something as simple as collaboration. So let me give you a prefix. Remember the word care, C-A-R-E, care. And this care will expand into 4 different points. C stands for collaborate. Children want parents to say, work with me to solve my problems and reach my goals. You know, something as simple as, let's say my mother stays with me, and it will be a beautiful collaboration thing for me to go to my children, Neeraj and Mehak, and ask them, would you like to bake a cake for your grandmother? Chalo, let's do it together. Neeru, you have just learned, so Neeraj, my son, you have just learned how to bake cake. Me and your sister are going to help you. Tell me how to do it. We learn much more by projects and much less by instructions. Think about the learning breakthroughs in your life. Did it happen inside the classroom, or did it happen through an instruction? Or did it happen through an experience? Did it happen through a project? I was 18 and a half years old. Me and my cousin, whom we used to call as Jetha Bhaiya, we used to travel on a scooter together. One of those days, he had to go to a friend's place. He gave me the scooter and said, you ride the scooter and go home. And I told him, I have never ridden a scooter in my life. I have never driven a scooter in my life. I only know bicycle, and bicycle is 7 kgs. This is 52 kgs. He said, no, you can go. And he disappeared. It took me 20 minutes to start the scooter. Another 17 minutes to move it from neutral to first gear. I would take it to first gear, pump, one jump will happen and it will stop. Once it even fell on my leg and I have the mark even today on my leg. 7-kilometer journey from my shop to my home was on the first gear of a 4-gear scooter. I did not have the courage to move to second gear. What if it stops again? But that night, I slept believing if there is a spirit of Alexander the Great somewhere, it has come inside me. I can conquer anything in the world right now. Look at how I did something which I was not used to. Now imagine if the same thing was there inside a chapter in a classroom saying how to drive a scooter. And everything will be taught. And then there will be an exam. And then I'll pass the exam. And then I'm given the license to drive the scooter. Would I feel like Alexander? I won't. The sense of achievement is not there through exams. The sense of achievement is always there through projects. And that is why if we can collaborate at home and do things together, you will find bonhomie, you will find masti, you will find fun, you will tease each other, you will pull each other's legs, and anybody and everybody will make mistakes. As I am taking a little flour and putting it inside the vessel my son has given to me, some flour might drop down and he might give me a look and say, how are you doing work? How the flour dropped? And I would remember I said the same thing to my son 3 days ago. Yeah, be careful. Why are you dropping things? Suddenly son looks at me and says, it's okay, Papa, it happens. Collaboration. And there is that equality, there is that power, there is that beautiful thing of belonging and oneness that happens. So C stands for collaborate with children. A stands for allow them to lead. Create opportunities where they can take the leadership. You know, something as simple as, would you like to decide where to go on holiday this year? Okay, I'm giving you a budget. The budget can be, let's say, 200,000 rupees for a family of 4. We can go for 7-8 days. You decide the place. You decide which flight, which hotels. You take the leadership. You are smart enough. I trust your decisions. And the child takes the lead. If you're building the interiors of your house, telling the child, okay, you decide what do you want in your room, which color do you want, where do you want what, how many drawers you want. You are good enough to take decisions. Come on, take leadership. There is no power struggle in these situations. Allow the children to lead. R stands for respect. When I say something, don't criticize. When you were my age, chances are you had similar thoughts. It is easy to judge someone based on our present maturity. But we forget that once when we were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, we were not as mature as we are today. Sometimes we are very harsh with children. We practice what is called as rough love and not tough love. We give children names. Idiot. You don't have brains or what? Such simple things you can't do. You're so lazy. You are saying you will do, but I'm not confident. Last 3 times also you said and you never did. You are saying 4th time, let's see. A very dear friend of mine, Debanuj Dasgupta, who's a professor for feminism in the University of California, said this beautifully to me one day. If you give a dog a name, even the dog starts responding to that name. If I give my children a name, you are idiot. You too will never cooperate, na? They will start responding to that and start behaving that way. So when Olga Burns looks at Ursula and says, I know you will become rich one day and you will have $1 million. And I also know one day you will lift 1 million people out from poverty. My child tells me I'll wake up at 6 o'clock, and she struggles and wakes up at 7:30 and comes to me and says, Papa, I'm sorry. And I tell her, no, darling. Yeah, we had a time for 6, but you woke up at 7:30. But I also know the kind of effort you would have taken at 6 o'clock to wake up. Maybe the effort was not enough. Next time we'll put better efforts. But I know you have taken efforts. Now the child does not feel labeled. The child does not feel disrespected. The child does not believe that my parents do not believe I am of any worth whatsoever. See, the truth is, we love our children. We value our children like nobody's business. The truth is, we will go to any extent to protect them. We will sell our home, sell our land to get our children educated properly. Take everything possible, but make them move ahead in life. But in the process of driving children, we end up disrespecting them enough number of times. And this disrespect makes them believe in themselves a little less. And this disrespect makes them stop listening to us. So they know our love, but they don't know our respect. Do you know, people need respect more than they need love? Your sense of self-worth does not come when somebody loves you. Your sense of self-worth comes when somebody respects you. So R stands for respecting children. But Naren, what if they do mistakes? I agree. Everybody will make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of their life. Now I'll give you 2 phrases. One, remember that Olga used, tell me more. So when the child comes at 7:30 and says, I'm feeling very bad. Tell me more about it, beta. And let's see what the child has to say. But actually what happened is last night I was chatting with my friends about a project we are doing on psychology in our college. And the discussion went on till 1:30 and therefore I couldn't wake up at 6 as I had promised. Tell me more about it, beta. And next time, you know what I will do? No, she's a thinker. I'm teaching her how to think. I don't have to give instructions to lead her, to guide her, to mold her. All I need to do is ask her, what are your thoughts? And trust me, our children are smarter than we are. They just need a wall with which they can express their thoughts. So tell me more is an extremely powerful phrase. The second question, which will help you in a very big way, is how may I? How may I help you to get up at 6? How may I help you to sleep on time? How may I help you to study better? How may I help you to build better relationships? How may I? We are not going to give instructions, but they are going to ask for help. And when they ask for help, it is very easy for them to accept the help that we are offering to them. So C stands for collaborate. A stands for allow them to lead. R stands for respect me. And E stands for enthusiasm. Energy. Excitement. Now, as Shabbir and me were discussing about what should be the great relevant contents for parenting in this program, Shabbir expressed a deep concern, and that concern was the addiction that children seem to have towards technology. Shabir had this question, wherein they are so dependent on technology, so distracted by technology. What can we do to help parents solve this complication? Okay, my darling parents, do you want a complicated answer or do you want a very simple answer? Simple answer. Okay. Simple answer begins with two simple realizations. Realization number one, they are addicted towards technology because it gives them instant gratification. They put something on, let's say, Facebook or Insta. I used to call it Instagram till my daughter told me, Papa, it's not Instagram. Everybody calls it Insta. So you say Insta. That gram is there, but unnecessary. Oh, acha. So let's say they post something on Insta. And in 30 minutes, they have 42 likes. Instant gratification. They are getting results right now. And we are telling them study very hard so that after 15 years, you have a great future. Huh? After 15 years. But you study hard and life will be great. And then look at the parents who have studied very hard and they can see that they are struggling. They think you are saying study hard, life will be great. You are educated, but you are struggling. What you are saying is not proof enough. So social media, technology gives me instant gratification. And second, social media does not judge me. In the sense, let's say I'm playing a game. And in the game, I made a bad beginning. I've lost 2 lives out of 5 lives. I can immediately press the reset button and start from scratch. That they can do in technology. But at home, if they do a mistake, they are told about that for the next 5 years. That day, that relative had come and how you did not even come out of your room. After that, how much I had to go through and listen. What they would have thought about me as a parent. And that poor fellow is crucified for the next few years of his life. So children are technology addicted for these 2 reasons. They don't feel judged. They can start from scratch again. And 2, they get joy right now. Can I give this to my children physically? Every day, can I appreciate for something good that my child does? If I can give them instant gratification, the control and hold of technology on them will become weak. If I don't give it to them, then they will be naturally drawn towards anything which gives them instant gratification. Why do people smoke? Why do people drink? Why do people take drugs? It gives them instant gratification. There was a time when the only addiction the world knew was substance addiction. Smoking, drinking, drugs, and stuff like this. How about food? A person has diabetes but still wants sweet. They may know it's not good for their body. Somebody might have cholesterol, but they still want fried food. They know it's not good for them, but it gives you instant gratification. It gives them joy in that moment. And that addiction is there in humanity all across the world. Technology seems to be a new addiction, which is not about substance or something that you eat or experience, but something which is completely mental. Fill your home with laughter. Fill your home with sweet leg pulling. Fill your home with a lot of energy. Fill your home with good conversations. And you will find children are not going towards technology. Let me ask all my friends over here one simple question. Do you have a big TV set in your house? You have a TV set in your home? Almost all of you have. You know, when the TV set came, there was a book with that, which was called the instruction manual. Where is that book? Do you know where it is kept? Murtuza threw it, na? Now imagine if full day we are giving instructions to our children. Sit down, get up, sleep, eat, go, come, walk, study. You know how much respect you are giving to instruction manuals. You are throwing it away. And if children look at us, do they see one instruction manual? Do they see fun? Here is a small technique for all of you. It's called the glad, mad, sad technique. And it has worked for thousands of parents. We have a platform called wowparenting.com. Those of you who really want some great nuggets of wisdom on parenting, do visit wowparenting.com. It's a complete free site with extraordinary pieces of content. And one of the most read content pieces over there is a blog post that I've written called Glad, Mad, Sad. What is Glad, Mad, Sad? For many years in our home, before we sleep in the night, I would ask my children, what made you mad, what made you glad, and what made you sad today? And I will begin by sharing what was mad, glad, sad about my day. So I would say, today morning when I reached office, I found that the lighting system which should have been in place has been folded last night and kept away in the almirah. And today being second Saturday, the chabi is inside one locker and the chabi of the locker is with somebody else who's on holiday. I became so mad here. This is bad management. What made me glad? We had a beautiful program with so many friends from across the world. That made me very, very glad. What made you sad? I heard that one of my friends, his father-in-law is admitted in hospital. Cancer, 17 days and 22 lakhs is the bill. He's selling his house just to save his father-in-law's life. Made me very sad. Acha, tell me, what was mad, glad, sad about your day? Normally, earlier, if I will ask my son Neeraj, but how was your day? Fine. But anything else? All okay. Anything special? Nah. He was a specialist in one-word answers. And then when we started this mad, glad, sad thingy, we would speak for 2.5 hours together. And if children can find joy, bonding, no judgment whatsoever, and that's our promise, whatever you share about glad, mad, sad, we are not going to hold you to that tomorrow and say, Kal tune aisa kyun kiya? What was there to be sad about that? No judgments. If they're sad, they're sad. We give to the children what they need from technology. Now they're not addicts to technology. If they have 10 minutes time, they come and sit next to their parents and say, let's talk now. And the addiction is kind of dealt with beautifully well. How? Through enthusiasm and energetic sharings. So E stands for enthusiasm and energetic sharings. Have these conversations at home and you will find extraordinary results. Practice these and you will find great joy in parenting your children. I think we are running out of time. So I've shared about 5 points with you today and one tool called Glad, Mad, Sad technique. If we can do that, you will find awesome results in life with your children. But since I'd promised 7 points, here are 2 more points for you. Don't gift them things, gift them experiences. For example, what we do at home is we study books together. So there is this beautiful book called Relentless by a guy called Tim Grover, who trains champion athletes towards becoming better. If any one of you wants to have that great drive inside you, you must pick up this book called Relentless by Tim Grover. So me and my younger daughter are reading that book together. So in the evening, we'll say, hey, what did you learn today? What did you study today? And she would say, Papa, how did he train Michael Jordan? That was fantastic. And I would say, tell me more. I remember that technique, huh? Tell me more. Remember that phrase, how may we? And I would ask her, is there anything that you and me need to implement out of that book? Now we're creating an experience together. You know, we play this game called, what do you think he is thinking? Let's say if Mehak, my younger one, was with me sitting next to me right now, I would ask him, okay, Zainab is there who introduced me. As she's listening to me, what do you think she's thinking? Now Mehak will come up with her points. Papa, you know what I'm thinking is, and so, you know what I'm thinking? She might be thinking that. And then we'll just have a conversation. We'll see a bird and I'll say, where do you think the bird is going? Do you think the bird is worried? Will she catch a worm today and feed her children? Simply we'll have these talks. And they are priceless conversations. So create experiences together and don't just buy things. Finally, do good things together. Do social work together. It's a very powerful tool. We do something together. We have a game called Golden Touch. So let's say as a family, we go out, me, my darling wife, Bharti, my kids. And as we sit in the restaurant, as we order food, as the waiter comes to deliver, we will have a competition. Let's see who can make the waiter smile. So let's say I see the waiter's name over there is Anuj. Anuj in Hindi also means small. So I would tell him, my brother, your name is Anuj, but you know what a big work you are doing. When people are tired and they want some place to relax and be pampered, you take care of so well. The water you gave us, right temperature, table absolutely clean. You've taken our order so well. Boss, your name is Anuj, but the work you do is really big. Thank you. Huh? And that fellow will have a big smile on his face. Nobody has spoken to him that way. And as he would smile, I would look at all of them and say, see, I did the golden touch. You guys couldn't. Now, let's say when we go to the counter to pay bill, can you do golden touch to the manager over there? And in game, we are doing social work. The liftman, the watchman, the driver, the peon, anybody who's poor, anybody who's old, anybody whose life we can touch and make them smile. When we do these things together, you find the toughest of times go away very smoothly and very beautifully. I know all of you are great parents. I know you go out of your way to bring up your children. I also know out of the things that we discussed, chances are that there are some things that you're already doing. Maybe what we have done in this program is brought a few ideas together in a shape which you will be able to recollect and remember, and therefore create very deep, impactful parenting. To sum up, Apollo 13 was a mission which failed, where US could not land a man on the moon. And there's an extraordinary movie by the name of Apollo 13. If any one of you is a movie buff, you must see that movie, Apollo 13. Extraordinary movie. In that movie, when the spaceship is entering back into the atmosphere of the Earth, in the control center, this is the conversation going on between two people called Deke and Gene. Deke is saying, the parachutes may not open. The battery may not last. The heat shield, which can take temperature of 3000 degrees, may not last, may be out. And then Deke says, sir, this can be the worst disaster NASA has ever faced. Gene looks at Deke, who's his boss, and says, excuse me, sir, this might be the finest hour in the history of NASA. What if, in spite of all that, we land properly? And I think that's a crucial role all parents play. Now and then our children will go through some struggle. And in their life, they might say, parachute may not open,